Hey guys, Gary J here. Today we're throwing a Beaked Kylie, as some people call it, or a Wirlki, W-I-R-L-K-I. Sounds like something from Star Wars, doesn't it? Anyway, this is a unique design Kylie. You don't see these very often. And you don't see one like this. Bob Foresi made this one. Bob Foresi has been making Kylies for about 3 decades or so. He's a master Kylie maker. There's only about 5 or 6 people in the United States that I know of that can actually make a Kylie, of this kind of quality. If that many. And Bob's certainly a master at it. And Bob's done a beautiful job on this Kylie. Now this is a natural wood Kylie, which has natural grain. On this one, the grain goes around here and up this way, which means at one time this was like a tree limb that went like this and up. So this blank was taken out of a tree limb like that, which makes it very unique and one of a kind. And you see these little yellow marks here. That's wood, a bayberry type wood. I forgot there's another type. And this brown rectangles here are special wood too. And he put those in there, which makes it really unique because they go all the way through to the other side. And this is really this was 2009 when he made this one. He's got grooves cut into the handle right here. Some Kylies had grooves all the way down the whole length of the Kylie. I think it had something to do with maybe making it fly better. It is an art, a real art to make a Kylie that's functional, that will really throw and spin like it's supposed to and fly like it's supposed to. On the edges right here are the airfoils on each side, and that's where the mastery comes in to making one of these throw like they're supposed to. Bob's the master of that. So we're going to be throwing this one and see how she goes. He said this was one of the best throwing ones that he had made, and so we're going to check that out. But it's a beautiful stick. Now, for those who are not familiar with Kylies, people call them throwing sticks. They call them killing sticks. Aboriginal people used them to kill animals with, because back in those days, they didn't have grocery stores to go to. They had to go out. Instead, they didn't have guns either to shoot animals like our pioneer people. So they used sticks like this and other types. But this one, since it's about 22 inches, I think 22 inches long, it covers a wide area and it spins really fast. And it'll go out 80 meters, close to 100 yards. And you could hit an animal if you say like a emu, which looks kind of like an ostrich in a little bit, got a long neck, long legs. If you could break the neck of an emu or break the legs of an emu, he couldn't run away, of course, then you could go up and spear it. If you could break the wing of a duck or a goose or something like that, and they couldn't fly away, you could catch it. So it was kind of a crippling device, and I mean it sounds kind of gross in a way for some people, but I mean that's the way they survived. And today's time, they make games out of these where seeing who can get closest to a target and stuff like that, so they can be a lot of fun. But these are really hard to find. Now this one is another Kylie by Bob Foresi, and this is the typical design that you'll generally see in a Kylie. You won't see the Beaked Kylies that often. I will show you a website for a guy who actually makes Kylie similar to this, who makes them out of polycarbonate or polyethylene or both. And he's been doing this for a while, and his Kylies throw really well. And it's something you can purchase, and they're almost indestructible, these polyethylene and polycarbonate type Kylies. He makes all different types, but I'll put a link there for him. So these are really unique and beautiful throwing sticks. A lot of effort, time, and years of knowledge went into making these Kylies right here, and I really enjoy them. So let's see how this Beaked Kylie will throw. Okay guys, we're going to be throwing this, and with these, generally you'll see people, they'll throw them this angle with the beak pointing backwards. Okay, this acts like a rudder to help it stabilize. Now I don't know what angle I need on this, because a lot of times if this is 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, a lot of times with Kylie's you're going to be throwing them at 3 o'clock, which is 0 degrees level with the ground. Some of them you got to tilt about 10 degrees or 30 degrees or more. It all depends. So throwing at my red Explorer right here, that just gives you an idea of what I'm looking at. Now when you release, if you release say at 12 o'clock here, then it's probably going to go to the left. So you have to figure out, if 12 o'clock, if I release at 11 o'clock, where's it going to go? Or if I release at 10 o'clock, where's it going to go? So then you start to narrow down the direction, and then you have to get your timing right. So let's see. I'm going to release it as 12, 11, about 10:30. Let's try that. See if we can get it to go straight that way. 1, 2, 3. Okay, the direction I threw that one, I know you can't probably see it with the GoPro. It went exactly where I threw it. I threw it at about 10:30. It went straight 10:30. I thought it might curve and go to the Explorer, but it didn't. But that's another thing about Bob Foresi stuff. That's the way it's supposed to go. The way you release it, and I released that one well, so it went exactly straight, and that's the mark of a good Kylie. It goes straight. You know, depending on the distance, they can go out a little bit and come back in. You make allowance and how hard. And I threw it very easy, about 40% power. And I think that went out at least 60 yards. I'll check it and see. Okay guys, our second throw at the vehicle, instead of going, that's 12, 11, 10, 10:30. Instead of throwing it that direction, I'm going to go to 11:30. 1, 2, 3. Now I threw her. Now I threw her a little bit harder, and for the first part, I'd say 60 yards, she went straight toward the truck. The last probably 10 yards or so, she veered off to the right. And that's what happens with a Kylie. They have like a maximum distance. We got a little crosswind, but not much. So she threw straight until she got out probably close to that 60-yard mark. And she went farther than that, so she started to veer off to the right a little bit. I know you can't probably see it on the GoPro, but that's what happened. And we got this tree right here, and we're going to aim in that direction right there. And I'm going to release that, that's 12, I'm going to release it about 10:30. I'm not going to throw it quite as hard. And I'm holding her, if that's 3 o'clock is level with the ground, I'm releasing her at about 15 to 20 degree angle. Try to hold it up so the camera can see it. So let's see how that works. Now people ask me, why do you do that 1, 2, 3 thing? Well, it just helps you concentrate so you really make sure you're throwing it the way you want to. 1, 2, 3. Now where my finger's pointing, that's where the direction she went. She started out a little bit more toward the tree, in line with the tree, got out there a little bit farther, and that's probably about 70 yards there. Started to veer off a little bit to the right. But that's still a great throw. I mean, at 60 yards, she's straight as an arrow. Okay, throwing back in the truck again this time. This time I'm going to throw her harder. So I know if I throw her harder, she's going to go straight and then veer off to the right. That's the way they do. So once you pass 60 yards, I'm going for like 80 or 90 yards. So in order to be in a line where I want to be with the vehicle here, I'm going to have to release over here. So if this is 12 o'clock and this is 1 o'clock, I would be going 11 o'clock. 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Probably 10:30 when I throw her hard. So I'm going to release her this direction. So she should go out that way and then come back. So let's see where she goes. Now she's going that way. Now she's turning. So she landed close to the front of the alignment of the bumper. So she went out the way I thought she would, because I threw her hard, probably 90 yards out there. And she turned and is about in line with the bumper. So and it's about in line with the bumper. So see, Aboriginal people, they didn't have video games, television, internet, and stuff like that. This is what they played with, stuff like this. And they threw these things every day. They were masters. They didn't wind up. They throw these things like a cowboy on a quick draw, you know, to shoot somebody. Pulls the gun real fast. So this is how they did it. They would pick up Kylie and all of a sudden, boom, it's just instantly, you know, within a fraction of a second, they're throwing a Kylie at an animal or something. And they were that good. So, of course, I don't do that. We have grocery stores today. But that's the interesting thing about it. They were real masters of it. And they knew how far they could throw it and where it would curve and all that stuff. 2, 3. Still caught air. I released that one wrong because it went up this way, and anytime you get up with a lot of air underneath it, it's just going to veer off. The wind's going to catch it. So that's what happens when you get them too high. They'll veer off more. You got to keep it level. Gary Broadbent said, when you throw them, you know, slice them level, you know, and you can figure out on your release and how straight it's going to fly for what distance. Here we go, a vehicle here. It's not going to be a hard throw. I'm going to throw it here. I'm on my release. Yeah. She went right where I released her. That's exactly where she went. Which if you were going to hit an animal, a land animal walking, you would want it level with the ground anyway. Now they do hit birds like ducks, bats, geese type birds. Again, you break a wing or leg of an animal, they incapacitates them. They can't run away or fly away. So that's the advantage of having something like that. Now, a lot of real Kylies today throwing killing sticks like in Aboriginals,
they are heavy. You want something really heavy. These are not heavy. These are pretty light. I was going to weigh it, but I didn't. And so this is really light. This wouldn't hurt anything. Well, it hurt a bird, maybe something with a small leg, but this is not really a killing stick. This is more of a fun type of Kylie right here. It's not as heavy as Aboriginals would be, because their stuff is really heavy. If you ever see Aboriginal throw stuff, they got like these big hands. You could strike a match on them. They're so rough, and they can throw those things like a baseball. Baseball goes up to 100 miles per hour. I don't know how fast the Kylie comes from Aboriginal people who actually use these things, but I know it's fast. Okay, here's our vehicle again. This time, this is close enough. My vehicle's probably 85 yards away. So, I'm not gonna throw it hard, but I'm gonna release it at 12, right toward it. 1, 2, 3. Right at it. Then I went straight center of the vehicle to the very end and veered off to the right a little bit. Again, about 60 yards, it's dead on. And then after that, it starts to veer a little bit to the right. But that's because gravity is pulling that thing down. So it's catching air at an angle and it starts to veer off too.